has a circle in the middle. So when you look at this now,
Yeah, it's a 6-spoke wheel now, isn't it? Yes, yes.
so you can see the description of the Seraph that's given to us in Isaiah. It's Isaiah 6, and it's also given to us in Revelation 14, that you have a Seraph which has 2 wings above, 2 wings with which it flies, 2 wings with which it covers its feet. And this would be the face that took the shape of 4 different faces: an eagle, a man, an ox, and a lion.
Right, right.
So there were 4 different types of Seraph. So you have, for the description of the Seraph, is given to us in Isaiah and in Revelation. Now, Strong's Concordance will tell you Seraph means a fiery serpent. There's no justification for that in Scripture, because the 2 witnesses that testify to the seraphim, that is the Seraph in plural, all testify, 6 wings. Now, arguably, there's another description in Ezekiel that if you look closely at the description, even though it appears only to be 4 wings, if you carefully parse the words the way they're written, you'll see that it's a 6-winged seraph that he saw as well. 2 above, 2 with which they flew, and 2 with which they covered their feet, with the head here. This was the symbol that was told to Moshe. Moshe was told, we have people being bit by serpents. And Yah told him, put a seraph on a banner. And instead, he put a serpent on a pole. I mean, that's in the original Hebrew. It's distinct, but that's what was originally there. Now, this symbol here is a different symbol, because this symbol is going to indicate the solar authority. Because the solar authority is divided by equinox and solstice, and then there are 4 divisions between those, which are the high Wiccan or high wizardry holidays, such as Samhain and Beltane and so forth. And those are the May Day, Halloween, etc. Those are the dates in between the summer solstice, the vernal equinox, the winter solstice, and the autumnal equinox, right?
So that's the universe sign?
That's the universal sign.
Here, yes. Right? Yeah, and so when you see the spiral, now the self-similar spiral is based upon an algorithm, and the algorithm is called the Fibonacci sequence, also known as the letter phi. And so this Fibonacci sequence algorithm is basically expresses a ratio of 1.68, but you can understand the Fibonacci sequence by 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13. That's the Fibonacci sequence. But it is an algorithm that's expressed by Fibonacci, but there is an algorithm that appears in Scripture too, which is 1, the Father, 2, the Son, 3, which would include the Royal Hakodesh. Then it goes to 7, the sevenfold doctrine of his whole creation. Then it goes to 10, and then 12, and then 22. And so this is it's its own independent algorithm. So when you read in Mark 8, when Mashiach is talking to the disciples, and he says, what part of this don't you understand? That I took 5 loaves, fed 5,000, and you collected 12 baskets. I took 7 loaves, fed 4,000, and you collected 7 baskets. Those are particular numbers that have particular meaning. And this expression of the algorithm is now going to be set forth in the self-similar spiral, which, when you put that into a fractal, the fractal is the depiction of most of creation that we see.
You've got 5 books of Moshe in there, haven't you? So, the 5 books of Moshe.
The 5 books of Moshe, sure. I mean, that's what he's talking about. He took 5 loaves, and when he was done feeding the multitude,
With the Torah.
the 5 books of Moshe, there was enough to feed 12 tribes, which were the 12 tribes of Yisrael. That appears to be Latin down there. That underlined text appears to be Latin. And it's a little bit more articulated here than some of the other ones in terms of whether or not it's clearly Latin. But again, we're going to see another idea of the 8-sided wheel. And it's interesting that you would call it the 8-sided wheel of life.
Yeah, you say it's the Wheel of Life you've recognized this from, yeah?
Yeah, because I came from a Wiccan New Age pathway to Yahweh.
Right.
And that's our symbolism. It was a symbolism.
The symbolism of the wheel of life, because it is an expression of the solar calendar.
Yeah.
Now, Scripture deals with what's called a soli lunar calendar. So you have this idea in Genesis 1:14 that says, the greater light, the lesser light, and the stars also are to be used for signs, seasons, days, and years. So instead of you having this kind of articulation here, you would have the singular marker of the vernal equinox, beginning of the year, and then the new moon giving us each month, because the moon is called Chodesh, meaning the moon, but it is a dark Chodesh. It is the conjunction of the moon that begins the month. And so the 15th of the month would appear on the full moon as we had last night or the night before. We arrived at the 15th month of the 15th day of the 6th month, the month of Elul, coming into Tishri now, which will be of course Yom Teruah. So anyway, so this is a very interesting symbol, and of course, what do we see here in the middle but the sun? So we're going to see the sun depicted in the middle of the wheel because this is a depiction of a solar calendar.
Wow. So it's a calendar then.
That's
Do you have
a calendar.
any significance to the sort of paths, apart from you've explained the swirl in the top corner? Do you think the paths themselves are any significance perhaps, something astronomical or?
It could be, there could be some astronomical significance to this idea here of coming around the outside of the wheel in kind of an orbit, but the chances are probably not so, because the Celtic expression, what they called the Celtic expression, which may have been Qumran or even Gaelic.
Yeah, don't worry about that, yes.
But that expression was an interwoven, the idea of interweaving the lines. So we see, for instance,
I noticed here they're not interwoven. This is what struck me. Normally you have this feeling of eternity, don't you? That you end up going back to the start again, whereas here you don't. It's independent. Well, they seem independent. That one, yeah, this one runs from there down to there. It's not the usual. They don't carry knotting on ever, do they? They've got, it's almost like they've got paths. You're following different paths of different things, perhaps. Yeah, it's difficult to know, isn't
and
it?
then this indentation here, and we don't have a similar indentation over here, but we have one here. So it's kind of unusual.
I don't think these are random, these shapes. I don't know. It'll take a lot to work them out. Because you've also got some hidden around the corners, of course, which don't get noticed. And I'd love to see what's around the back as well, because they put them next to the walls, you can't see the backs of the stones, which is a bit frustrating. If you look down there.
That's very unusual. Now, this is almost totem in its expression, Ross, if you look at it, because we can see we have a grouping here, 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 a grouping here, and a grouping here, right? You see those different expressions? Now, in the magic world, these could be like a sigil kind of marker, but they could also express different generations or even different spirits occupying the different expression from here. Like for instance, here we have 3 lines. This could be representing 3 generations. This is a different configuration from this, which is a different configuration from this, which is completely different from this. So we've got something interesting on the side of this expression. Like, in America, we see it as a totem pole, where you have head on head on head on head, depicting a particular set of relationships. I think that's what is predicted here too, probably a set of relationships and maybe generational relationships.
It'd be quite nice to be able to see the back, wouldn't it? There you go. Why not show the back? You're doing well. It's really close to the wall, isn't it? You need a mirror or something.
Yeah.